Hello, fellow human light beings. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. Welcome back to the channel. As you know, I do also upload to other platforms. Rumble sometimes gets some exclusive videos, and we're on Odyssey and BitChute as well. I'm currently live. It is Tuesday, October 10th, 12:30 p.m. here in beautiful Queensland, Australia. And it is most likely October 9th, wherever you are if you're watching this live. Today, on the Solar Flash update, we're going to be talking about how the Solar Flash event, which is in progress, it's not just something that happens instantly. It has been going on for, 9 months now. How during this event, STARSEEDS are now living in two separate timelines. We're going to talk about what STARSEEDS really are. It's not what you've been told. But what's interesting is that we are living in two separate timelines, at least some of us are. And I'm going to reveal to you why aliens aren't revealing themselves. Or are they? Why is it we don't see them? People are seeing UFOs and UAPs, and there's a lot of discussion about which UFOs are actually extraterrestrial in origin and which ones are made by humans. You'd be surprised at what is really going on. But we're going to be talking about why aliens aren't revealing themselves, and it has everything to do with the fact that many of us are actually beginning to live two separate timelines. Hello and welcome back to the channel. And if you're going to be anywhere in southern Queensland on the 29th of October, assuming I'm still here, you can go and see me speak. You can see me there. I'll be speaking at a UFO meetup, and you can ask me questions in person, etc., etc. All right, so I've been having an interesting experience. It's been going on for quite some time, but I'm starting to get the feeling that more and more what is seeping into my awareness is that I am living in two different timelines. And it feels as though I am offloading more of my consciousness into the other timeline, which, if that continues, assuming that I'm not deluded, if that continues, perhaps one day I will not be in this timeline anymore. I'll be in the other one. Maybe that's what the solar flash is. A lot of people talk about it being that there's going to be a gateway between our, or actually a lower version of our third dimension and a higher version of our third dimension, and people will have to choose which one they want to be in. And some people will make that choice by default because you're just simply following your soul. Your soul is guiding you, and the more that you identify with that and vibrate at that frequency, you won't have a problem. You'll just make a shift. I don't know how exactly it's going to happen. We will find out one way or another. But what is that? Got a little bug bite or something on me. So let's talk about STARSEEDS for a second. Everybody listening to me, if you are listening to me, I can guarantee you that you're a STARSEED. I guarantee you. I personally love the idea of STARSEEDS, except that the whole concept has been used by very damaged, emotionally wounded people. The same people who identify as STARSEEDS will also identify as super empaths, heyokas, the chosen ones. And this is really just a euphemism for chronically untreated codependence. And that's very sad. Because what ends up happening is that people compare themselves to others. So your typical New Age starseed, self-described starseed, is going to at some point reveal to you that they are superior to the rest of humans because they come from a higher dimension, and these lower humans, blah, 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 and I've come here to help. And so, you know, it really is, it's a defense mechanism used to dissociate from tremendous feelings of insecurity, usually coming from a wounded childhood. But I love the idea of starseeds because the truth is every single human being is a starseed. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's Hitler or if it's Gandhi. They're starseeds. And the reason why I know this is because I've actually been to these other dimensions and I've interacted with higher dimensional beings. Because that's the idea. A starseed is supposed to be like this, assuming this is people ask me, what is the significance of this? It's just a cool looking thing I bought so that I would have a background so you don't have to look at a white wall. That's all. Don't have to read anything into it. But there are a lot of light beings apparently that look similar to this. And a starseed will identify with that and not with their human self, which is not how this is supposed to work. You're supposed to be able to identify with both and not have an attachment one way or another. So because I've interacted with these beings and because these beings continue to show me as I do the interdimensional meditation, which you can learn to do here on this channel. If you go to the playlists, you can see the free guided interdimensional meditations. That when you do these meditations and you interact with these beings, you find out who you really are. And you find out who you are beyond your human three-dimensional avatar. You find out your true history. And when this happens, you become aware that you are yourself a light being. You're a light being who has chosen to experience this particular density. You've chosen to come here and vibrate on this, which means that when you go into 3D space-time, you're going to have a human life, a birth and, you know, a life, and you're going to have challenges, and depending on how you respond to those challenges will be whether or not you burn off karma or create more. And this is something that starseeds choose to do. And every single person who's come to Earth has chosen to do this. Now, some may have more experience being human than others. Some may have a whole buttload of karma that they're working through. And some people just simply forget who they are to such a degree that they continue to make choices that keep them trapped. And that is very sad. Identifying as a starseed and simultaneously believing that you are superior to other humans, that right there tells me you are trapped in a serious karmic cycle. And you will continue to make choices that will bog you down and cause you more pain. And the more pain, you will then defend yourself against that by continuing to tell how you're chosen of God and you're a chosen 144 or you're a super empath or you're a... And the truth is, if you truly are a starseed and you are connected to being a starseed, you will have no attachment to being here. You won't be full of pain and want to leave. You won't be afraid of leaving. You will be comfortable here or wherever else. You'll be able to live in this world and you will learn how to appreciate this world. In fact, you will make choices that will allow you to find bliss and happiness in this particular dimension. If that's not happening for you and you call yourself a starseed, there's a big disconnect. A true starseed, a self-realized starseed says, wow, this 3D Earth is amazing. May not be amazing where you live, but then again, you've chosen to live there. So if you want to be somewhere else, why aren't you somewhere else? Why aren't you living where you want to live? Why aren't you doing what you want to do? Why don't you have the health that you want to have? These are all your responsibilities, and this is the true consciousness of a starseed. A starseed takes full responsibility and learns how to manifest their reality. And the truth is, even though this third dimensional Earth is going bye-bye, this experiment has come to an end. And unfortunately, the dark forces who are in control of this particular density, they have corrupted the narrative to such a degree that there's only one thing left to do, is that we have to scrap this entire experiment, because that's all that it is. It's an experiment in consciousness. And if you don't learn how to forgive the people who have harmed you, you can't call yourself a starseed. I'm not talking about denial. You know, somebody asked me a question about resentments and if they have a scar left over from a past resentment. And I said, that means you still have a resentment. You're still in pain, because truly working through a resentment means you have no residual pain whatsoever. Now, that's a big thing to say. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. So I'm not minimizing that, but that's the goal. So this is what, again, if you go onto the playlists on the channel, you will find the 12 steps to 5D. And specifically, the most powerful steps are steps 4 through 7. Now, you have to do them in order, and I will upload the rest of those videos, but steps 4 through 7 will give you the ability to have what I'm talking about. You have zero pain. You don't even remember it. So if you're remembering what has happened to you, you've remembered what people have done to you, how people have harmed you, you have scars. Scar tissue means that you're covering over a pain. This means that you haven't done step 4. Step 4, 5, and 6, and 7. If you do those and you do those properly, you might have to do them numerous times, but if you do them properly, you will be free of pain. You will be free of resentment. And then you can call yourself a truly realized starseed. You're still a starseed no matter who you are. It's just a question of whether or not you've come to realize your starseed ability. So, the interdimensional meditation is just one of the things that I teach on this channel. Before I go any further, this channel is about giving you the tools, giving you specific tools. Talking is meaningless. Listening to me talk has only one value for you. And that is, if I do my job right, I will inspire you to take the actions necessary. If you think sitting around listening to me or anybody else talk is going to shift you, you are wrong. If you think understanding what the deep state is doing, that understanding makes you awakened, you are wrong. If you think that by researching this and watching enough videos and coming to understand that this world is coming to an end, if you think that intellectual knowledge will save you, you are wrong. The only thing that will save you is taking the actions that will change your frequency. That includes your awareness. Your awareness is a type of frequency. It includes your beliefs, your chosen beliefs. Those create frequencies. Learning to go beyond your victim mentality. If you're a true starseed, you know there's no such thing as false beings of light. Anybody who believes in false beings of light, I know that you have never experienced higher dimensions in this incarnation. Nothing wrong with that. That's not your fault, but I know. That's just like, you know, if somebody who's colorblind starts to talk about colors, they've never seen colors, they can't know what they're talking about. You can't know what you're talking about unless you've experienced it. The good news is the way to experience higher dimensions is by shifting your frequency, because that's all dimensions are. All of the matter, you know, this deck of rune cards, the matter that creates these cards is vibrating at a specific frequency. If it vibrated at a different frequency, it would become something else. Your projection into this third dimensional screen, which is what it is, your projection, which is your physical body, is vibrating at a particular frequency. When you change that frequency, you'll be in another dimension. So if you believe in false beings of light, I know for a fact you've never been out of the third dimension, because the idea that somebody can be more powerful than you and have the ability to harm you is something that happens here. It doesn't happen out there. So if you want to have that ability, you're going to have to take the actions. And this is what I teach on this channel. So there's 3 things that I want you to do. And the first one is I want you to go on to the my YouTube channel page, Thunder Wizard DOTCOM, and do the free interdimensional guided meditations. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to go and start doing the energy practices. You can start with the Hool breath. You can do the Awakening the Immortals. You can do the Heaven and Earth meditation. There's a bunch of free, incredibly powerful meditations. Some of them are so powerful that I shouldn't be giving them out. And I know I'm the first person in history to give this stuff out publicly for free, not to mention the other stuff that I teach. I want you to go do that, and then I want you to go to the 12 steps to 5D and begin doing that. Do those 3 things. Do them. Do some of each of them every day, and I guarantee you will begin to shift. When you've experienced energy and you know how powerful that is, then, because most people say, what am I going to get if I buy this video? What am I going to get if I subscribe to the 90? Well, okay, you want to know ahead of time? You want to taste test? Go ahead. Do the Awakening the Immortals, the Hool breath, Hua breath. Do one of these practices. When you feel it, then you have a beginning understanding of what's going on here. Then I want you to go to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, which is at thunderwizard.com, and I want you to subscribe. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. You'll get access to me teaching you from A to Z exactly what I've done and what you can do. And you just simply follow the directions, you press play, and you do what I do. And very simple movements, breathing and movements, you will shift your frequency. That's how I do it. I'm not the only game in town, but I guarantee you sitting on your ass watching videos, thinking about the solar flash is not going to work. It's not how this works. All right, so now what is happening with me in my interdimensional meditations? What has been happening is that I have been going to my version of 5D. Again, the word 5D is just a word. Don't get caught up on it. It just means heaven on earth, whatever it is that we're waiting for. I can't even tell you what exactly it is. I just know that it's a place where there's no hatred, there's no fear, there's no violence, there's no jealousy, there's no insecurity, there's no sadness, there's no pain in the way that we understand it. There's no competition. There's no countries. There's no boundaries. There's no borders. There's no army. There's no military. There's no police. There's no banks. There's no money. There's no social credit score of any kind. There's simply people living in direct communion with the spirit of the universe, and being able to see, hear, and feel all conscious beings. Your neighbors, if they happen to be fellow human light beings, you will be able to see them. You will know them from all of the previous lives that you've experienced. You will feel their energy. You will know what they are feeling. They will know what you are feeling. There is no way to hide your essence from anything or anybody. This is what we call 5D. We'll also have direct connection to higher dimensional beings who will be able to come and go. We will be able to go to their worlds, their dimensions. You will be able to experience no separation between physical beings of light like yourself and non-physical beings of light, deities, spirits, You will not have any separation between yourself and your loved ones. If your loved ones have passed away, you will be able to communicate with them. You'll be able to work out past life karmas with them. You'll be able to go and energetically go and communicate directly with deities. How do I know this? Because this is what I go through every day when I do interdimensional meditation. And what's happening is I first was told about a year ago to create my perfect world. I didn't understand what was going on. I had barely any kind of awareness of what any of this was. But I was being communicated to by beings of higher dimensional awarenesses, and their power was unbelievable. And they explained to me the quantum nature of the universe. They showed me, continued to show me for months, every day for months. They continued to take me and show me the quantum nature of the universe. And they showed me what quantum physics tries to talk about, but quantum physics can't understand spirit or soul, emotions. So the stuff that you hear about from physicists is accurate about being in, if you're in the fifth dimension, you're able to be in as many different points on a timeline as you want. You can be in as many different timelines. You can be doing an infinite number of tasks at once and have all of your energy into each one of those tasks. And you can understand that, but they won't explain to you the immense emotional intensity, the intensity of emotions, specifically love, joy, peace, harmony. We have this misunderstanding, and it comes from the human desire to dissociate from pain. But most people believe that enlightenment is this neutral state where nothing bothers you and you don't have any feelings one way or another. So they're conflating a detachment with just being brain dead. And the reason why people fantasize about that kind of enlightenment is because they're in a lot of pain. By the way, this is why people do drugs. This is why those of you, if you smoke weed, this is why you're doing that. Because you conflate that feeling with bliss and enlightenment, and it's not. You're trying to stuff down your painful feelings. How do I know? Because I've done it. I've experienced it. So if you really want to have a higher dimensional experience, you're going to have to be able to tolerate even more intense emotions than the ones you have now. So if you think going to 5D means you won't have any feelings, you're dead wrong. The intensity of the love that is there in higher dimensions is, well, if we were to feel love in the third dimension the way that our higher dimensional family does in higher dimensions, we would literally explode. Our bodies couldn't hold it in. We'd explode. Your nervous system would just completely destruct. So we can get bits and pieces of it. And if you've ever had out-of-body experiences, or especially if you've had near-death experiences, you might know what I'm talking about. I can remember having an out-of-body experience when I was 7 years old, and what I was doing is whatever being was responsible for this was actually teaching me how to do interdimensional meditation. I didn't realize that, but exactly the same process. I was pulled out of my body, out of Earth's atmosphere, and then there was this light that was off in the distance, and I got pulled toward this light. And as I got closer and closer to this light, the feelings began to get very, very intense. And as I entered the light, there was an orgasmic explosion of bliss that at first was very uncomfortable. I thought I was dying, because I was literally exploding from the inside out. And then, of course, like an orgasm, remember the first time you had an orgasm, you thought something broke until you experienced it. You went, wow, that was really cool. Same kind of thing, almost identical, but it was at a soul level. I had this soul orgasm that at first felt like too much, like I was dying, and then I couldn't help but relax into it. I had no choice. And then once I did, this amazing expansion of bliss and love and peace and harmony and beauty like I'd never felt, to this day I haven't felt anything like it. But that is the kinds of experiences people are going to have in higher dimensions. Once you have that, there's no thought of false beings of light. There's no thought of evil reptilians. None of that enters your brain. So I'm giving you permission to make the decision to choose to believe something different. Understand, in the third dimension, one of the tricks that you can use to change your frequency is to change what you choose to believe. Now, your feelings don't have to correspond with it. You can still be afraid. You can still have fear. You can still have anger. You can still have all of those lower vibrational emotions. You're not responsible for the emotions that go through your body that you're not in control of, because your emotions are responses. They are responses at an unconscious level to old wounds that are being stimulated. Everything around you is reminding you of some wound that has been unresolved, and a feeling will erupt out of it. And these feelings turn into people's beliefs. This is why people believe in false beings of light. They believe it, and I don't care if you learned it from some Gnostic text. People 2,000 years ago were humans too. They lived, especially the Gnostic texts. If you want to know, a lot of people want to say, oh, I know you don't like Christianity, but I observed the original Christianity, Gnostic Christianity. Well, let me tell you where Gnostic Christianity came from, even if we give you the benefit of the doubt that it was the first one. It came from the Jewish people who were being living under the rule of Roman archons. Archon means rulers. And these Romans had enslaved them. They had taken away their life, their culture, and they didn't have any options. They didn't have any place to go. They couldn't do anything. They had to simply obey their masters if they wanted to live. And this became projected onto their understanding of reality. That's why you have their belief of God. There is I forget what you call it. What we would call God, they call this a bad, evil presence that you have to go beyond. And then you go beyond, and they believe that the flesh is bad. All of this is a sign of somebody who's gone through severe psychological trauma. They dissociate from their physical body. This is what happens to people who have narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. They disassociate from their physical bodies. And all that happened is you spiritualize that and turn it into a Gnostic religion. And you say, I'm no longer of the flesh, I am of the spirit. What happens here on earth, this is all an illusion. There are truths to it. But it means that you're chronically, deeply damaged and dissociated. And this is why people believe that. This is why the whole belief in archons even exists. Comes from somebody who's so damaged and in so much pain that they dissociate from their physical body. They dissociate from their psychological self. They dissociate from their emotions. And they do whatever they can to stay in that state. And they spiritualize it. And then they become you'll find people who are like this become very condescending and full of themselves. It's self-righteous. And while they talk about love. I'm giving you an alternative belief system which you can choose to believe or not. Believe it or don't. But if you choose to believe that, even though you don't feel it, even though you don't have any experience with it, if you choose to believe that beyond this third dimension is a universe of consciousness that is full of love and only wants your happiness, And as long as you are obeying the joy within your soul, the universe must give you every single resource you need. That includes right now. Right now, with wars breaking out, we've got wars in Ukraine, we've got now a new war erupting in the Middle East. I can't even begin to talk about that. YouTube would shut me down in a heartbeat if I did. But we've got all these horrible things going on. We've got the housing crisis. We've got all this nonsense. And the truth is that if you follow your soul, none of it will touch you. None of it. You can believe that even though you can't see it with your eyes, you haven't experienced it. If you choose to believe that the universe will give you every single thing you've ever wanted, if you follow your soul, because this what we're calling the universe, you want to call it God, if that works for you, that is a vibration, that is a frequency. And the only part of you that vibrates at the same frequency with that part of the universe we call God is your soul. And your soul, the essence of your soul is higher dimensional joy, bliss. Now, I'm not saying you have to be in bliss 24/7, but I am saying that you have to be able to access it and know what actions are required of you in order to feel that bliss. Those actions will be your desires, your deepest desires. And it's not an easy task to distinguish between the false desires in your brain and the true desires of your soul. This is not easy for everybody. But if you can change your frequency to that of your soul, the universe has to give you all of your greatest fantasies, every single one of them. And that includes being in this third dimension or in the new fifth dimension. That's why, unfortunately, there will be many people. I don't know what the percentage is. I don't need this to be true. And if it turns out not to be true, nobody will be happier than me. But I believe very strongly that what will happen is that there will be people who are aware of the dark forces. They are aware of the limitations of the third dimension. And because they choose to believe that there are beings, false beings of light, trying to trap them, that belief in and of itself will prevent them from becoming aware of the joy of their soul and what the desires of their soul are. And because of that, the frequency will keep them, and there's going to be no shortage of people in the lower version of 3D Earth who are going to be talking. There's going to be no shortage of Gnostics down there. There's going to be born-again Christians, there's going to be Gnostics, there's going to be Jews and Muslims, and there's going to be atheists. It's going to be all the same garbage we have now, but it's going to be even worse. And there will be no shortage of people complaining about, this and that, and finding, for all I know, it might be a planet full of draconian lizard people. It's because that's where you vibrate. That's where your frequency is. So you can be in a huge amount of pain. You can feel hopeless, and you can choose to believe that there is an essence of consciousness that is the fundamental source of this universe that loves you. And when you connect through the portal of the desires of your soul is a portal to the higher dimensions. You can't access your soul if you don't give your soul what it wants. And what your soul wants is the things that make you happy, truly happy. It's a portal. So when I went surfing today. It's my thing. That's the deepest desire that my soul has, is to surf in perfect conditions like this, living in semi-tropical rainforest with warm water and blue skies. And I was out there surfing, and underneath me were all of these stingrays, these big giant, they look like giant underwater bats, tails. Those, and they're like flying underneath my surfboard. It was amazing. That kind of stuff, makes my soul so happy. So when I need more money, you know what I do? I go surfing. So that's what my soul tells me to do. And I know that if I live that, I'll be given everything that I need. That's a belief. So going surfing is an action that I take on my beliefs, even if I don't feel it. And this is what people don't know how to do. You've been told not to do this by religion. We talked about this a bunch of times before. I won't get into it. The narrative tells you to just do what you're told. You're told you don't have enough time, you don't have enough money. You're told that's stupid, that's ridiculous, that doesn't help anything. You're here to serve the whole, you're just a cog in the wheel. That's what you're told. And so you take actions on that. And when you take actions on that, then you vibrate at the level of that. When you have feelings that you're afraid you're not going to be loved, you're afraid you're not going to be happy, you're afraid you're going to be poor, you have those feelings, you're afraid there might be evil archons out there trying to feast on your soul. You can feel that, but if you act as though you are royalty, and the only thing that royalty has to do is make themselves happy. If you act on that, even though you don't feel it, you will earn the rewards of that. I know from personal experience. And so this is where we're headed. What I'm finding as I'm continuing to be revealed from higher dimensional beings, what the nature of consciousness is, the quantum reality that exists, as I go in my meditations to my perfect 5D world, and I'm building it. I literally go and I imagine this building here, and I imagine these people there, and I imagine this kind of, it's right on the edge of the water, and I imagine the waves look like this, and the ocean looks like this, and the animals and the birds, and I imagine literally everything that just makes me really happy. And for a while I did that, and I was having the feeling that I was in a fantasy world that didn't exist yet, and I was creating everything. And then one day I showed up, and things felt different. And I showed up, and there was a bunch of beings there, and they were all clapping, and they were happy, and they were celebrating, and I didn't really understand what was happening. And somebody said, "You did it. It's real now. And there are other beings there enjoying the world you've created." And and now every time I go, it's not that I'm creating it. I'm actually now putting my energies, my awareness into that place that I've created. Now we'll see what's going to happen, but the feeling I get is that as more and more of me goes into that, there's going to be less and less of me here. And I definitely have this feeling that I'm living in 2 dimensions at the same time. And it's a little bit strange because the 3rd dimension tries to gaslight you out of it. But I'll tell you a secret. This is the secret that's kept me sane for the past 1.5 years. And that is, whenever you interact with a higher dimensional being, whatever they tell you, you accept it at face value. And by the way, let me be clear. Higher dimensional beings will never tell you anything negative. Some people have messaged me and said, higher dimensional beings told me to kill my family. And I said, no, they didn't. If that's what's going on, then unfortunately you are trapped in your own delusion. And this is one of the potential things that can happen. You can't tell the difference between your own delusion and a communication with a higher being. That's just something each of us has to learn to get through. So I've had to continuously train myself to learn the difference between when I'm just fantasizing and when I'm actually interacting with something. So anyway, I forgot where that was headed, but that's how you do it. If you want to know how to do that, you do. Oh, what I was saying is that these higher dimensional beings will only tell you positive things. They will never, ever tell you anything negative. They will never, ever criticize you. They might give you some constructive suggestions about how you can benefit or learn and grow. And usually, what I found is if they want to tell me something or teach me something, instead of coming and telling me, here's what you need to do. In fact, there was only one time that happened. But it was because I was choosing not to believe what was happening. And the being said, you've got to believe what we're telling you. You have to believe it. It's incredibly important to the universe that you believe what we're telling you. So I took them seriously. But they will never say anything negative about other people. Even if they're the worst human being that's ever lived, they will never say anything negative. And they will never say anything negative about you. In fact, they won't even talk about other people. Whenever you're communicating with a higher dimensional being, because the higher dimensional being will say, you this, you that, you. They will always make it about you. And you know you're talking to a higher dimensional being because they will say we. They almost never say I. They say we. They say we blah blah blah, you blah blah blah, we you. That's how you know you're talking with them. And of course, anybody who's a psychologist or some kind of psychotherapist knows why you talk that way. You know what that means and how that preserves people's boundaries and how that allows people to interact and accept what you're telling them. But if they ever want to tell me something, what they'll do is they'll say, I have a question for you. Or if there's a being that wants to teach me something, my guide will say, there's a being here who would like to ask you a question. And it's an interesting thing because, if they said there's a being here who wants to tell you what's what, your guard's going to go up. When they say there's a being here that has a question for you, that wants to ask your opinion on something, that has a question, then you automatically go, well, yes, of course, bring them in. And they will say, one of the most helpful ones was a being came to me and said, would you like to know a method that will allow you to destroy anybody's criticism of you? I said, of course, I would love that. And they said, whenever somebody attacks your essence, calls you names, laugh at it. Not laugh at them, laugh at what they've said. So I've learned how to do this where if somebody like in my face attacks me and calls me a name, I'll go, thank you for bringing that to my attention. And then when they're not looking, I will laugh. Because I will then look at the absurdity of that. People who call me selfish. I laugh at that. My entire life is spent completely devoted to giving tools to every single person who wants to evolve. I laugh because you're telling me that I'm selfish after I just spent 2 hours giving out a free lecture on YouTube. I look for ways to give tools and practices that's ridiculous. That's funny. It's just, you have to laugh at yourself. And that was one of the ways that they teach you. So if you're not having that kind of interaction, if it's more of a negative interaction, if you feel any guilt or any pressure, it's probably not coming from a higher dimensional being. If a higher dimensional being tells you smack about somebody else and tells you why you're superior, this is why I don't believe in starseeds, because the whole idea of being a starseed, I should say, I don't believe in the mainstream narrative of starseed, because the whole idea of a starseed being superior to other humans doesn't enter the mind of any higher dimensional being. They never think like this. They never think like this. You will never be in the presence of a higher dimensional being and get the feeling that they are condescending and looking down on you. Never happens. In fact, quite the opposite. They will worship you. If they see the divinity in you, they will immediately begin to worship the divinity within you. They will immediately begin to tell you and praise you for all of the divine things that are within you, that without you, they wouldn't survive. They wouldn't exist if it weren't for you. This is when you're experiencing a higher dimensional being. So that's what's happening with me. I'm learning how to straddle these two worlds, and the tip that I was going to give you, before I got distracted, was, in order to keep myself sane, what I've learned how to do is I take everything they tell me at face value. I don't. In fact, sometimes I know I get kind of a stupid look on my face because they're telling me something that's hard to comprehend, and so I know I'm kind of. So what I've learned to do is I repeat back to them what they say. They'll say something really grandiose and amazing and wonderful that's impossible for the third dimensional mind to comprehend. And I will say thank you, and then I will repeat back to them what they've said, because I am letting them know that I am cooperating with the communication, that I'm accepting it. I don't have to believe it. I'm just taking it at face value, and I'm accepting it. And I'll say, I accept that. And then what I do when I'm back in my normal body is I don't think about it. I don't try and figure it out. And another way of looking at it is I don't get attached. I don't get attached to whatever they say, positively or negatively. I don't attach to it. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to become true. If none of it turns out to be true, that's fine, but I accept that it is true. And this is where you have to live, in this place of acceptance without attachment. That will save you from losing your mind. It will keep the connection between you and higher dimensional frequencies open. And this will be the gateway. This is the gateway between this dimension and the next. And if there is a time when people will be able to choose which dimension they want, it'll have to be in this state of mind where I'm not attached to anything. I accept everything these beings tell me without needing for it to be true or having any attachment. I don't need it to be anything. I'm just going to go with it. And then I imagine at some point I'll wake up in that other dimension and go, oh my God, it's real. We'll all find out. All right, now let's talk about why these beings aren't revealing themselves. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but unfortunately, we have been programmed on two fronts to understand false things about extraterrestrials. The first one is your third dimensional experience teaches you about the universe. Even though you may intellectually know that higher dimensions exist, that's not enough. Again, if you're colorblind and somebody starts talking about colors, you can't possibly know what they're talking about. So you only know, what you see. I mean, like, I don't know what cartoon it is. I think it's Family Guy, where the dog, somebody's asking the dog, I can't remember exactly, but something like asking the dog if he knows how to drive, and do you know what to do at a stoplight? And he says, yeah, I go at the gray one and I stop at the black one, because he can't see colors. He doesn't know red and green. He only knows gray and black and white. So that's all that we can do in our third dimensional mind. And our third dimensional experience tells us that if a physical being from another planet comes to our Earth, it's going to be in the third dimension. This is why, unfortunately, I bite my tongue, because people are doing their best. But, as I talk to CE5 groups and people who are into ETs and UFOs, they brag about how much time they spend looking up in the sky with their binoculars, and they share every single anomalous photo of anything they see in the sky, and to them that's interacting with ETs. And despite the silliness of all of that, the one mistake that they're experiencing is that they think that anything that they don't understand must be extraterrestrial. And if you're seeing it with your physical eyes, it means you're seeing a three-dimensional artifact. Whether it's a ball of light or whether it's an actual object, it's in the third dimension. And so the assumption is that there's all these three-dimensional objects out here, and I'm going to look for them, like birds. Eventually a bird is going to fly. If there's a bird in the sky and he's above me, I'm going to see him. But these beings are not three-dimensional. If they're making it to planet Earth, at the very least, they have the ability to shift up to a higher dimensional frequency. And I guarantee you, they are not allowing themselves to be seen, or even if they want to be seen, you wouldn't be able to see them. If they choose to vibrate down to 3D, that is a rarity for them. The idea that one's going to land in your front yard and you're going to see it and they're going to walk up to you in the third dimension, that is a very rare instance. I'm not going to say that's not possible, because I do think at some point that will happen. But it will be a conscious choice on their part, and they will be doing it solely for the experience of three-dimensional viewers. So you have to, these assumptions happen without us even being aware of it. So most people walk around with an assumption that an ET is flying around in a physical 3D craft, has a physical 3D body, and therefore I'm going to look for that. And you could be staring up in the sky. I know, because I've experienced it. There could be a giant mothership filled with hundreds or thousands of ETs. In fact, there are ships out there that I've interacted with that they're like the United Nations of the extraterrestrial world. They're filled with hundreds or thousands. It's like a Starship Enterprise. Hundreds or thousands of beings from different planets. And they're all here on a peace mission. I've interacted with those. They're like science ships that go around. And science for them is not going and taking blood samples or taking soil samples. Science for them is spiritual. They meditate. There are ships parked outside of every single one of our planets. And they are beings that are meditating with the consciousness and the energy of those planets. And again, I'm telling you this from personal experience. And so the assumption behind what these beings are has to be changed. You have to assume they are in a higher dimension, and you have to assume that they are spiritual beings and have little or no interest in anything that we would consider to be three-dimensional technology. The technology that they have is very advanced, but it's powered by consciousness. It's not powered by, the things that, like this computer and my phone is, the physical, digital, mechanical, they don't have that kind of technology. The kind of technology they have is very different. So the reason why the aliens haven't revealed themselves is because we haven't been able to see them. It's just that simple. We haven't been able to see them. We can't see the ones that are right in front of us. This happens all the time, by the way. This happened to me the first time I did CE5. Go look it up if you don't know what it is. Google it. The letter C, the letter E, the number 5. First time I did CE5, I took my camera phone with me because I was expecting to see little grays popping out of a ship and walking up to me. And I was expecting something like that because I was a third dimensional being, and that's the only thing that I knew about extraterrestrial beings. I couldn't even comprehend higher dimensional anything. I'd heard about it, but I didn't know how to comprehend it. The first time I did that, I have on video, you can go watch the video, it's on my channel called How I Became an Extraterrestrial. I didn't put all of the video that I caught on there, but I put some of it. In one case, you can't see me because it's completely dark, but I'm lying down on a chair, and there's this light that's all over my body. There's this orb of light that's completely hovering over my body, and I didn't see a thing. When I was looking at the film, I'm like, what the hell is that? There was a time when I was using the radio, to try and get their attention, because I thought, they're listening to their radio on their spaceship. Of course, they weren't. They were standing right next to me, and so they jolted my radio so that my radio made a noise, and then I went, "Are you here?" And I heard nothing. On the audio, when I say, "Are you here?" there's a voice that says yes. And there are people who have done this. One particular, I wish I had the picture because it was amazing, but these two people were out doing CE5 and whatever they did, and they came back in, and they were at this rental, and the person thought, wow, this is a really cool rental. I'm going to take a picture. So I took a picture of the empty rental and then looked at it later, and there was this being. Looked like this short being wearing like a Chinese hat and, in the middle of the room. And that wasn't there when I took the picture. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. These beings are here. You've been physically in the presence of these beings more times than you could count. I guarantee you. They could be with you right now and you wouldn't be able to see them. You might be able to feel them. I can feel them as I talk. I can feel their energy. And now that energy could be coming from millions of light years away because they're connected to me. Or it could be because they're standing next to me. But I can't see it with my three-dimensional eyes. So we have to be able to understand these beings aren't hiding. They're just not available at our frequency. And if we shift up, what'll happen? When we shift up, you're going to go, oh my God, look at all the things that are standing. Look at all the beings. Look at all the... You're going to be able to see spirits. You're going to be able to see beings. You're going to be able to see every kind of consciousness. You're going to be able to see the consciousness within the plants, within the rocks. You're going to be able to see love and awareness. You'll be able to feel everything. The reason why we have myths about fairies and elves and gnomes and, nature spirits and angels is because they exist. And they exist from their perspective in a physical form. In fact, outside of this third dimension, people who have successful out-of-body experiences will tell you that when their soul is walking around, they're in a body, they're in a physical body, they have a physical experience. They interact with higher dimensional reality in a physical way, and it's more real than this physical world. So we have to completely change the way that we assume. And I'll close with this. People ask me, and I understand the question, they ask me, when is the solar flash going to come? And I understand wanting to know because you think it's going to happen on a date. You think there's a calendar with a date on it. And there's, a bunch of entities and deities and, the ETs are sitting there looking at the clock and they're like, oh, another couple of days and we're going to make this flash happen. It doesn't work like that. The flash has already happened. It just hasn't happened in 3D space-time yet. And when our experience of the flash lines up with the actual event, that is going to be the result of our consciousness. And when I've asked, ETs in the past, when is this going to happen? The answer was, it will happen when you decide it happens. Which means when you decide to shift. When we decide to shift, the flash will come. It's already here. We're just not vibrating at its frequency yet. In fact, the flash itself might be the experience of shifting to another dimension. You might have this flash. It's already here. All right, so with that, I'm going to leave it and go back and watch the video about the 10 rules of the solar flash ascension event. Everything is energy. Physical matter is energy vibrating at a certain frequency. This earth is a simulation at a specific energy frequency. Your mind is a frequency antenna. Your body is an energetic frequency projector. Your soul is a neutral observer. Your chosen beliefs dictate your choices. Your choices change your frequency. Your frequency determines your dimension. You are responsible for your frequency. If you, like me, aren't able to just simply think yourself into a higher frequency, if you're not able to just simply decide to get out of the pain and the misery and the anger and the fear, you and I are in the same boat. If you are like me, then you need techniques, you need tools, you need cheats. And that's what it is that I teach you on this channel. All the free stuff on the playlists gives you a taste. If you want to stick with those, that's fine. But if you really want to get control over this shift, go to thunderwizard.com, subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. You have nothing to lose. If you want $5,000 worth of all of my video packages and teachings, go here to 923.thunderwizard.com. You're going to save something like $4,500 or something like that. And it has in it the most powerful energy practice ever on planet Earth, the Maoshan 5-element spirit fighting practice. You can learn that here at 923.thunderwizard.com. I was charging $3,000 for that before. So you're going to save huge amounts of money. My books, you can get michaelwilliamdenny.com, or you can go to Amazon, Kindle, Audible. Just type in my name. 3 most important books are The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth, and Interdimensional Revolution. And of course, again, if you are in southern Queensland, then you can go to this talk on the 29th where I will be talking about my experiences. All right, that's it. As you know, I don't take questions unless you are subscribed to the 90-day challenge, and I recognize you. Having said that, I can't guarantee your question won't annoy me. So don't take it personally if I get annoyed at your question, or if I don't answer it the way that you want. It's just the way things go around here. People who do the work, who follow my videos, who've read my books, and who do the practices, they tend to ask the questions that stimulate me to give happy, positive answers. When people start asking questions that have nothing to do with what I'm teaching, that tends to annoy me. All right, so let's see what we got here. Yep, if you got your own opinions, there's no reason for you to be here. I don't know why you're here. If you completely, totally disagree with me, I suggest you going to another channel. Why waste your time listening to somebody that says things that you don't agree with? Just your energy you're wasting, not mine. You're not going to change my opinion. My opinion is based on my experience. There's literally nothing you could say that's going to change my experience. But if you want to feel like I'm not pointing anybody up, but they probably know who they are. If you want to feel like a victim, you go right ahead. You want to be afraid, you go right ahead. It's all yours. Send us a postcard and let us know how lower 3D works out for you. You want to drop all that nonsense? Then you're going to have to go through the ego death of dropping your victim mentality is attached to your ego. That's why you're arguing with me. Because if you weren't insecure about it, you wouldn't need to argue about it. You'll go, oh, he believes this and I believe this. But when you have to say, no, you're wrong, blah, 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 I already know that you don't believe what you're saying. You want to go beyond it, but there's an ego part of you that, see, this is what people don't understand. The third dimension is an addiction. Victim mentality is an addiction. Needing to believe that there are false beings out there of light trying to harm you. Needing to define yourself based on the things, the dangers and the evils that there are, both false and true. The need for you to identify with that is your ego. and your ego is going to have to die if you want to shift. So you go right ahead. You want to keep watching my channel and disagreeing with what I say, it's completely on you. But I'm giving you another opportunity. You won't know what it's like until you do something different. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and do something different. Or you can just keep arguing. It's completely up to you. And you can still have those feelings, do the work that I suggest, and get a different experience. And then you won't have to hold on to these beliefs anymore. But for somebody who holds on to these beliefs, here's what I know. You were hurt. I know that you were hurt. I know that you were probably hurt as a child, but I know that somebody deeply hurt you. And in order to survive, you had to accept a victim mentality. It's an understandable thing that little kids have to do to survive in dysfunctional homes. But once you become an adult, you can't then change that. You take that victim mentality into your life. And in fact, anybody who comes along like me and tries to tell you, you don't have to be a victim anymore. The universe loves you. There is nothing out there for you to fear as long as you're living your soul. Now, you would think that if somebody was in pain and living in fear, if they're in a cage, it's like this. You're in a cage and you're complaining about being trapped in a cage, and somebody comes along and gives you the key. Says, I can't open it. The keyhole's on your side. Here's the key. Open the gate. They won't do it. They won't let themselves out of the cage. And you have to ask why. It's because even though the cage is miserable, it's what they know and it feels safe. And to walk out of the cage into liberty would be more frightening. This happens all the time in prison. There are people, Charles Manson was one of these people. Charles Manson used to blame people. He used to blame society for his crimes because he said, you let me out of prison. He liked being in prison because he had, 3 meals a day and a cot and, he had a rec room and whatever else. This is a child who never grew up. And all of your victim mentality, belief in, whatever it is you want to believe in, that keeps you trapped, this is your childhood trauma that you are attached to, because if you let it go, you'll have to feel the pain that you're resisting. And the pain that you're resisting is the pain that happens when you realize your mom didn't love you, your dad didn't love you, God didn't love you, your friends didn't love you. You have to cry through that pain. And because you don't want to do that, and because you still want them to love you, you're going to argue with me and tell me why you can't leave your prison and why these things happen and there are evil beings doing this to you. And I can't say one way or another, but if somebody wanted to have a strategy to stay in lower 3D, that would be it. So you're going to have to face that pain. Look, I've had experiences with people who, I'll give you an example of somebody who was for decades in a destructive relationship and she couldn't get out of it. And she would complain about it to her friends. It was one of her friends. She would complain about it. And she would cry about how horrible it was. Most of the time she refused to talk about it, but when she did, she would get upset and she would cry. And we would all volunteer to go to her home and get her clothes. And, I volunteered to stand between her and this guy, and I guarantee you he wouldn't have been able to do anything to stop her. He wouldn't have anyway. But she didn't do that. And then I would ask her, I'd say, so you're in a lot of pain right now. She says, yes, I'm miserable. And I said, but the thought of leaving this guy is really painful. She says, yes, the thought of confronting him and having him get mad at me is very painful. I said, so no matter what you do, you're going to be in pain. So you can't escape being in pain. She said, that's right. I said, so then why not take the actions that are going to cause you the pain that is going to give you the release, that will give you your freedom? Now that makes sense to me, but I'm not trapped in her fear prison. The fear of dying to what you know. Anyway, we can go on and on about that, but that's what I know about you. You know who you are. You want to argue with me about whether or not there are evil beings out there doing things to you? I know all this about you, and it only makes me sad for you. And if you want the way out, your feelings aren't going to go away. Your fear of the universe isn't going to go away. But if you take actions based on what your soul wants, you will cry over the things that you didn't experience, and you will be afraid, and you will take actions based on a belief that you've chosen, which is belief that the universe loves you, and then you will begin to get all of the resources that you want, and hopefully you'll drop this nonsense. Moving on. I don't see any questions here, which is really all I'm looking for. I'm gonna, even though this isn't a question, I'm gonna answer it. So Gautam Pandit, I've seen you a couple times. You're new to the channel, right? Welcome to the channel, my friend. I strongly encourage you to follow my suggestions. My suggestions are go to the playlists, do the interdimensional meditation, do the energy work meditations every day, and do the 12 steps to 5D. And when you're ready, move to the 90-day challenge. You don't have to wait. You can go to the 90-day challenge now. The question you're asking, what you're not asking is you don't want to acknowledge what you want, which is you want to feel special. You are special. Angel numbers don't mean anything. Your clock, your phone will say 1111 twice a day, every single day. Okay? It happens to me all the time. I look, 1111. It doesn't mean anything. It just happens to mean that you saw a number. What you're really asking is, I want to be confirmed that I'm special. And angels aren't just showing you number. They can show you a number if it gets your attention and gets you out of that mindset of, am I special? Am I special? Am I loved? Yeah, you're loved. Now let's move on. Now start taking the actions that actually mean something. Accept that you are a starseed, that you are special. Stop looking for these little nonsensical things like your phone saying 1111 twice a day, every day. Start doing something that really gives you joy in your life and really gives you expansion. And again, this is you didn't ask the question. I just saw it and I wanted to address it, because again, when you do the practices on this channel, you can get beyond that. You can get beyond these superficial new age things that everybody talks about, which leads nowhere. Which only, the reason why I don't have billions of subscribers is because of this very reason. I don't condescend to you and give you these superficial, nonsensical things where you stay wrapped up in this question of, am I special? Does God love me? Yeah, now let's move on. Find out for yourself. Do the practices. You'll never have to ask that kind of question again. I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you asked it. Do the work on this channel. The live stream is nothing if you don't do the work. What else? All right, I'm not seeing any questions here, so that's it. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel. Thank you for doing everything that you can to empower yourself. If you want to give back to me, of course, the most tangible way you can do that is by subscribing to the thunderwizard.com website subscription page, going to 923, buying that package, other things. Buying the books doesn't really give me a whole lot of money, but I want you to get them. But outside of that, if you really want to thank me, here's how you do it. Follow my suggestions every day. Do the practices. Experience the growth. Experience the energy. Experience the awakening. Because when you awaken yourself, I benefit. So does every other conscious being. I'm going to share one last thing before we get off. I did a live stream interdimensional meditation where we went to the sun. And while we were in the sun, we sent loving solar energy to Earth. Now, it was just a meditation. I won't lie to you, I had an experience, but I didn't think much of it at the time. But when I was done with that, light beings, there had to have been thousands of them, came to me and they said, "Thank you so much. Thank you for giving light back to the universe. Thank you for the meditations." And they went on and on and on. They wouldn't stop. For days they were thanking me. I swear they were singing songs in praise of me because I'd done a meditation. But that is also letting you know that when you do the work to evolve, every single conscious being benefits from it. Sitting around wondering if you should do it and thinking about yourself does nobody any good, and it doesn't serve you. So please do the work to evolve. Everybody will thank you, including me. And I thank all of those of you who are doing it. I do get comments from people saying, I just got one recently, somebody said they did the heaven earth meditation and it was incredibly powerful and healing. And I love getting those. So if you're doing the practices and you have experiences, please put them in the comments section of the YouTube videos so that we can all benefit from it. Thank you so much. Let me first get rid of some spam here. Just do that. All right. Let's see, what do I do? Oh. And we're going to get rid of that. And sorry, I believe that these spam bots should be put in their place. Oh, I already hid them. Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. I love you all. And stay till the end if you want a free interdimensional meditation. I'll see you guys all next time. Please take good care of yourselves.